Nigeria's Flex Finance is a spend management solution for businesses in Africa, helping companies get visibility and control of their spending and streamlining financial processes like approval workflows, expense tracking, employee reimbursements, and vendor payments. Joining us now to delve into all of that is Yemi Olulana, CEO and co-founder of Flex Finance. Good to have you with us, Yemi.
Thank you for having me.
All right, for the folks out there, I know we've heard about this, but can you elaborate further on what Flex Finance is?
So what we do at Flex is we empower businesses throughout the continent to digitize their B2B spend. According to the last report we had from McKinsey, B2B spend far outpaces consumer spend. And one of the key differences between business spend and consumer spend is the level of approvals that's necessary. As a consumer, you can make the ultimate decision on how you spend your money. But as an organization, there are certain checks and balances that need to take place. There are certain key holders that need to make decisions on how money goes out. So that brings a lot of inefficiencies and slow down the process. So what we've done is we've brought technology into this key business process, digitize the entire process where businesses can automate their approval workflow, issue cards, both physical and virtual, and ultimately unleash potential in terms of the data that they have in their business spending so they can make better informed business spending decisions.
So what affects what influences the decisions? Is it a case of prioritizing? Do you have within the system an algorithm that helps you as part of the process that makes it possible for people to say, these are the list of priorities, anything at this point cannot be approved? How does it work?
So for many businesses, their business spending has been a black box because of the manual processes that they use. So what we've done is that we are able to give them real-time insight. So you see how you spend across different vendors, how you spend across employee reimbursements. So you can make ultimate decisions and say, oh, we spend X amount on transportation, how can we cut that? We're spending this amount on our vendors, can we reduce that cost? So for many businesses, they tend to get this information weeks into the new month for the previous month. But with Flex, we give them this information in real time because we empower them to do this across our mobile, web, and corporate card solution.
All right, let's talk about specifics now. Let's do like an overview of business spending in Africa and how does it compare to figures we see regarding consumer spending?
So according to the last report from McKinsey, it outpaces consumer spending. It's currently at 2.6 trillion and the consumer spending was 2.1 trillion, which is about over 500 billion more than consumer spend. And why we are passionate about this problem is that it is of greater economic consequence if businesses do not manage their spending properly. It leads to the demise of these businesses, which can lead to job losses, payroll issues. If a consumer decides to spend recklessly, for example, right, they can always, wing it to the end of the month and salary comes in, right? You can even argue that they're stimulating the economy as they are, patronizing goods and services. But if a business decides to spend recklessly, there'll be payroll issues because that means there was poor planning process. The business will go belly up. So in order to unlock the economic prosperity that we need in Africa, our solution is highly important to ensure businesses have complete visibility into how money leaves their business and it stops being a black box.
So as you're talking, I'm just thinking, this sounds very interesting because I did quite a bit in terms of management information systems. So I'm getting the impression that there is a lot of reporting capacity within this system, which means that you can actually interrogate and probe how much you spend. Give us a little bit more insight especially for people who may want to use it as an individual to be able to probe, where is my money going every week and every month?
Great question. So one thing that, as much as it's a buzzword now, AI, we've been using AI for quite a bit, even before it became a buzzword. We started off using machine learning technologies, which pretty much was able to predict what you're going to spend on next and how much you're going to spend in a new month. And with generative AI capabilities, we've been enabled to unlock new value where you can pretty much interact with your spending and ask it, hey, how much am I spending on transportation? How can I reduce this spending? How much do you think I can reduce this cost by? So we're able to generate actionable insights for businesses so they can make informed decisions to cut costs in their business.
But Yemi, there's concerns over the manipulative effort, probability of AI as well. So do you take that into consideration?
Exactly. So what we work with regulators and we're excited about the possibilities. And we're also excited about the fact that regulators are coming in very early to ensure best practices are adhered to. So yes, we take that into consideration.
All right.
Okay, so you did talk about how this compares. Do you have a comparison between what happens in Nigeria and in terms of the spend and priorities of companies as compared to what happens in other climes?
So what we've seen is that a lot of the other parts of the world have existing solutions for this. like in the US or in Europe, they realize how critical this problem is, and there's streamlined adoption and accepting that this is a huge problem that needs a solution. So there's a plethora of solutions. But what we've seen in Africa is that this solution did not exist, which is why we decided that, look, because we realize that business problems are far more homogeneous than consumer problems, that's why we've seen a transference and success of B2B solutions in Africa. It is very important, and we realize it even more talking to businesses, that this solution needs to exist, to solve this problem for the African continent. So we are seeing businesses begin to adopt our solution, and it's become a competitive advantage for them to use Flex.
All right, let's just take a look at this issue. We've seen spiraling inflation occasioned by the zero subsidy regime, but even before that, we've had a series of galloping inflation in Nigeria. So how is that trend impacting business spending nationwide, do you think?
So if you look at the top 15 companies in the Nigerian Stock Exchange and you compare their quarter 1 numbers of last year to this year, you will see over 22% jump in their operating expenses. Mm-hmm. And in that same period, revenue has only gone up by 16%. So there's already a clear impact in business spending, right? And businesses are realizing that, look, we can't continue to manage this process manually, right? Even though we eat into our revenue and reduce our bottom line. Mm-hmm. So there's already a clear impact, and that's why we're here to provide these tools to ensure that businesses are able to get real-time visibility and are able to drastically reduce this cost. And we've seen these savings already. Some of our customers have been able to save up to 40% of their monthly spend, just because they've been able to make real-time decisions and prioritize spending.
You know that one of the areas that will be of interest to quite a few of our viewers is startups. A lot of young Nigerians are into creating startups, whether it's in the finance sector, or in the money lending sector, or in fashion design and stuff like that. How does this give them a competitive advantage, considering the fact that half the time they don't even know what amount of money is coming in at the end of the month?
So thank you for that question. So what we've seen is that something that startups have access to is venture capital. And one thing that venture capital deployers are more conscious of is how this money is being used. So we've seen startups use our solution in very creative ways that gives investors the confidence to deploy more capital, because they are able to get real-time visibility. They are able to get the confidence that this business is using the money in an efficient ways. One of the key reasons why we have such a large lending gap on the continent is that for many, the lenders don't understand the business. They don't understand where the money is going. They don't understand. That's why a lot of them are more comfortable lending to consumers than to businesses. So what Flex is doing is demystifying all that. So using Flex gives you better access to credit, better access to finances, and ensure that your business can continue to grow with the capital you need.
Very good. Let's talk about the spending behavior in any other sector in Nigeria. Have you noticed any changes so far in this regard?
So for what we've seen, the operating expenditure has been the most hit. And businesses are trying to get that under control, basically with vendors that they have large volumes with, seeing if they can negotiate rates, etc. So what our solutions have actually done is generate this visibility, especially businesses in the real sector. We serve a lot of those businesses are the most hit, where they have to deal with lots of vendors, that their prices have actually gone up. So we pretty much are making them competitive with our solution by showing them the visibility of what they spend in these sectors, so they can make better forecasts and more informed decisions in terms of how much they'll be spending in operating expenses over the next few quarters.
So let me take you down the route of something I've done in the past. I always say that in my previous life I've been into systems development and application development, and I'm thinking, okay, so this particular Flex finance system, you will have periods when you have upgrades and things like that. How does that affect especially small business that will want to key into it, but upgrades come thick and fast, because no matter what you do, there will be bugs? So in terms of upgrading it, how does it affect their business?
So that's a fantastic question. So what we've done is we have a very robust development operations process. And because we are software as a service, most of these upgrades happen seamlessly. So we have a staging environment where tests go on extensively. So we ensure that once we ship all our updates to our consumers, there are literally zero bugs. So that's exactly what we do. So we ensure that the most stable version of the product is what is available to the businesses at each time, which is why we have an extensive testing process and testing personnel in organizations to ensure the process is stable.
Upgrades happens in real time on their system. It's not one where they have to go and download it and then install, and during the process of install, possibility of losing data, of losing information is not there. It just happens.
So it happens very seamlessly. And why we're able to do that is that we have a staging environment. So that staging environment is like the same product that is live. We have it in an environment where we can control, where we can test it and ensure that it's extremely stable. So we can ensure that once it goes live, it would not disrupt the operations of the business.
Okay.
All right. Let's take a look at the line of your business. How competitive is it, and is it like still at its infancy in Nigeria, you think?
So I think one thing we realized is that when we started talking to a lot of businesses, we realized a lot of them were looking for a solution like ours, which was really amazing. Before we started this, we interviewed over 100 businesses, and we realized it was a much pressing pain point. So in terms of adoption, right, getting the right businesses has been wonderful. Businesses love our products. We're getting lots of word of mouth. We're getting lots of referral from existing businesses. So businesses do realize it's a pain point, and we are happy that we are able to circle them and remedy the fact that they've had to run their business so long without Flex by providing our solutions.
So what's the kind of number that you can throw at us in terms of clients that you have, and how many people, how many organizations are using it? Because some people will say, I'm not sure I want to do this unless I'm sure that a lot of people are on it. What kind of numbers do you have in terms of clients?
Yeah, we currently have thousands of businesses on the product across different sectors, from the manufacturing sector, the logistics sector, startups. Some of the fastest growing companies you can think of currently use our solution. And yeah, and as I said earlier, we've grown a lot by word of mouth. Our existing businesses referring other businesses to us and getting blazing reviews from our customers, which keeps us going at Flex.
Indeed, thousands mean more profits, as it were. Yemi Olulana, CEO and co-founder of Flex Finance. Many thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me
with us.